Welcome, potatoes, to Potato Dev, which is the channel's name, and to my first video, and I'll be showing you how to make this really cool looking navbar. All the VS Code extensions that I have right now, I'll link them up in the description, and yeah, let's just start. I'll create a new file called index.html and style.css, where all our CSS is going to be. I'll use Emmet to create a boilerplate for HTML, which can be really handy. The title, I'll just set it to Navbar. I have no idea what to type there. Here, we're going to create our nav tag, which is the default HTML tag, which is created for navbars. And inside of there, we're going to put two sections. One is going to be left, and one is going to be right, which are actually just divs, not sections. And this is just to separate our two parts of the navbar. One side is going to hold the logo and search input, and the other is going to hold the other nav items. Just login, about, and sign up. Anyways, so let's start out with creating nav logo, which for me is just going to be some text because I don't have a logo. This is also going to be the nav search, input.nav search. I'm using Emmet abbreviations. If you don't like it, then you could just tell me in the comments. But yeah, like Emmet can be really helpful sometimes. Okay, we're gonna go here now, and actually, we're gonna add a placeholder to this input as search ... And for the right side, we're gonna have .nav about. I'm just gonna say about here. .nav login. It's gonna say login. And .nav sign up. And it's going to have nav button actually. And for both of these, it's going to have the class nav item. And for this, it's going to say sign up. And if we were to open this with the live server, then as you can see, we have our website here. Now, this looks terrible right now, so we're going to have to add in our CSS now. This is basically all the stuff we're going to need for our navbar. Most of the HTML is done, but first we have to link our CSS. So link rel is equal to style sheet, href is equal to style.css, perfect. And in here, I'm actually going to import a Google font called Outfit, which is, well, I just like the font. It looks good. It's going to make our navbar look a lot better. Now, we're going to select our nav tag, and into here, we're going to first set the position to fixed, top 0, left 0, width 100%, and height 20, or actually maybe like 12 view height. And maybe a background color of 333, a darkish gray. Now that navbar already looks pretty good. Now what I did here was make a position fix, so it's always stuck there at the top left corner, where the top is 0, from the top, and 0 pixels from the left. Its width is 100%, so it goes across the screen, and the height is 12 view height, which is CSS unit, which a lot of people don't know about, which is just 12% of the total window height, or web page height, actually. And I'm setting background to hashtag 333, which is a hex color, which is like a dark gray, basically. Now, I'll select each item inside of it, this nav. Direct children, this is a direct children selector, which is just gonna select the direct children. So here, that's dot left and dot right. So it's gonna select these two divs. And inside of here, I'll just give it a display flex, justify content center, and align items center. Now, if you guys don't know Flexbox, justify, it's just a way to align things in the perfect way. So justify content center moves all the items inside of this Flexbox into the horizontal center of the parent. Here it's nav, and align items vertically centers it. Now, I'll select all elements inside of nav. So every single element inside of this nav tag is going to have the following CSS properties. And that's going to be color white, and font family outfit, which is the font family that we imported here. Now, if we look here, we can see that our logo appeared with our search input, as well as these three. So this is the first dot left here, and this is dot right, the second part of our navbar. But this isn't really how we want it to be aligned. We're actually going to give this this nav tag a display of grid. And set grid template columns to 1FR and 1FR. Now, what that does is sets 2 columns for this grid. So this grid is just going to be made out of 2 columns. One column is this part here, the other column is this. And each of these columns have display flex and have justify content center and align item center, so it's perfectly centered. If we inspect this, we can see that better. And dot left is here, and it's flex box, so each of these are vertically aligned center and horizontally aligned center. Then we can also look at the grid. Each of these is a grid column. Now then, we could actually start styling each of these elements individually. But first, I'll just go into this flex box, which is the dot left and dot right, and add a gap between these elements of 1.5 rem. For now, we might change that in the future. And now we can start styling each one individually. So nav logo, we're going to want the font size to be way bigger, so maybe like 1.75 rem. That seems pretty good. Nav search, this is the input. This is going to have a color of 333, the same one we used for this background. We can actually create a variable for it, but we're not going to do this for this tutorial. Do that for this tutorial. Now, because before it got color white from this selector, so it just blended in with the background. But now it's better, it's visible, which is great. Now we're gonna set its dimensions a bit. So width is gonna be 10 rem, and height is gonna be, actually I'll just keep it an aspect ratio of maybe 4:1. Okay, never mind. 5:1. So aspect ratio is the new CSS property. It's just saying what the ratio of the width is to height is going to be. So if the width is 10 rem, then this is going to be 10 divided by 5, which is 2 rem. So anyways, font size is going to be a bit bigger, maybe like 1.05 maybe. Even that's too much. Okay, 1.02. We're also going to add a bit of padding on the left and right, so padding of maybe 10 pixels. So it's a bit off the left because it's too connected. We're going to put a border radius of maybe 2.25 m, so it's more curved, the edges, and I'll get rid of the border, which is there by default. And yeah, it's already looking good. I'll change the aspect ratio a bit. Yeah, that looks good. Now we're going to select the nav items, which here are these two, about and login, and increase the font size to 1.25 rem. Yeah, I think that's good for now. And .nav button, which is the sign up here. And to this, first we're going to add a border of 1 pixel solid white, padding of 10 pixels, maybe like 30 pixels. Have to get these values right. Not a bit too much, 15 pixels. Yeah, that looks good enough for now. And yeah, okay, so this is going to have a nice hover effect. So first of all, we're going to add a cursor of pointer, which is just going to make it change the cursor to that pointer. And when we hover over it, we want a white cover to just come from the left and just slide in and turn the text into the background color. And we'll be using a before pseudo element here, so content of this. This is necessary for pseudo elements. If you haven't seen pseudo elements yet, then I might explain it in a future video. But this property is necessary for it to work. I'll give the parent position relative so we can absolute position the before, which is actually just a child of this, but we don't actually need to create an HTML element for it. So content is nothing. You can add text here. This is just what's inside the element, the text content. We don't need anything right now. This is just like a white background that's just going to fill the area. Position absolute on it, left 0, top 0, width 100%, height 100%, background white. Now, I absolutely positioned it, moved it to the top left corner, and set the width of it to 100% of its parent, which is this, and the height of it to the 100% of its parent, which is this, and set the background to white. If you look at it, then this entire thing is white now. Now, I don't want this to always be visible. I only want it to be visible when you hover over it. And I also want to change the text color because right now it's invisible. So there's a lot we have to do. First, we'll start out by transforming the scale x of this to 0. So that's just making its x values, its width 0. And this is going to allow us to make a nice animation when it's opening it up. So transition, transform, 125 milliseconds, linear, yeah, should be good, nav. So this is just a transition for the transform. So when we're going to change the scale x in the future, it's going to do it smoothly instead of all of a sudden. So now we're going to, I'll access the before element of the nav button hover. It's a very weird looking CSS selector. And here, transform scale x 1. So when we hover over the button, the background white cover thing is going to have full width. So it's going to have a nice animation too because of the transition, or else it would suddenly go. But I don't really want it to start at the center. I want it to come in from the left. So I can do that by setting transform origin, another CSS property, and set it to left. Now it's going to come in from the left, but it kind of covers the text. We can't see what's inside of there. So to fix that, we're going to select nav button hover, say color is going to be #333. Yeah, actually, we're also going to want to add a z index to this because right now it's still above the text. But now it should be working. That's perfect. You can actually also add a transition font size of 125 milliseconds linear. So font size, color, sorry. So now the color is also going to have a smooth transition from white to gray, which is nice. And right now this button is looking a bit too boxy, so I'm going to add in a bit of border radius, maybe of like 0.25 m. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now we can get to the final touches. The navbar is kind of, it looks weird without a shadow, so we're going to add in a box shadow for it. So it's going to have 0, 0, x offset, and y offset. The blur radius is going to be 10 pixels, spread radius. Spread is going to be maybe 5 pixels. RGBA of 10, 10, 10, and 0.75. So this is actually, I'm saying RGBA, and this is the opacity of it. So it's a bit transparent, so it looks better. Yeah. So yeah, that's our navbar done, and it looks great. You can actually, that blue doesn't fit in, so I'll just change that too. So nav search focus outline none. by default it has an outline when focused. I don't really like that. You can keep it if you want, but now it's beautiful. Works, and you can type whatever you want here. But you do notice that these aren't actually links, so you can't actually click on them. The navbar is basically useless without it. So I was naive setting these to div tags. We're actually going to set those to A tags. Sorry about that. We're also going to want to add our hrefs in. So this is going to be slash. This is going to be slash about. This is going to be slash login. And this is going to be slash sign up. Now these are going to be different web pages, which I didn't actually build. This is just to show that it can work as a link. So if you click on it, then it goes to a slash about page. Just go back. But then there are these ugly underlines under everything, so we're actually gonna have to select that too. So nav A and text decoration none. So by default it has text decoration underline. I'm just getting rid of that. So it's not that ugly underline. If you wanted to keep it on hover, then you can use a not pseudo class and select hover. Now when you hover over it, it's gonna have that underline effect. I think I'll remove it because it looks a bit better. Yeah, that's our navbar done. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and tell me all your remarks on how this video was and what I need to improve on, because this is my first video. I'm gonna need lots of feedback. I hope you enjoyed.